To win it and $40,000, the winner has to master this championship pair. Earlier shrouded by darkness, but now the powerful lights illuminate the 5 finalists' battlefield, and here they are.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. And I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh, Lord. Can you feel it coming in the air tonight? Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
There they are, 5 special champions who have survived 48 grueling games: Cook, Durbin, Papis, Salvemini, and Aulby. ABC Sports presents the Professional Bowlers Tour. This week, the $200,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions. And here we are inside Riviera Lanes. Delighted to be back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 20th Firestone Tournament of Champions. I'm Chris Schenkel, and I'm very proud of the fact that I've done all 20. In the 23 years that the Professional Bowlers Tour has been on the air, we have a great event for you this afternoon, a lot at stake. Speaking of 20, Nelson Burton Jr. has bowled in all 20 Firestone Tournament of Champions. He's the right man to ask about what about the experience in this field today. So here he is, Bo Burton.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you. Chris, experience it is. We have 5 players, all champions. That's the only way you can get to this tournament. 3 of these players are former Firestone champions. We have in the first match Mike Durbin, who's won it twice, Steve Cook, who's won it. The winner of that goes against George Pappas. Then the winner goes against kind of an unknown quantity as far as the major tournaments goes, Joe Salvemini. He's very tough in the clutch, but the #1 guy, Mike Aulby, has won a PBA national championship when he was very young, and yet he said to me, he says, Bo, nobody is going to take this tournament away from me. I don't care who I bowl. The 40,000's mine, so you can forget about the next 90 minutes. But I think we have a little bit of time left before we crown him champion.
Well, we have had several left-handers before the 48 games got underway. And here we have 3 in a field of 5.
Well, the left-handers bowled a little better than the right-handers this week simply because they could play the extreme outside line and carry the 3-pound, 7-ounce wood that we have here. But about 10 years ago, Chris, we had 4 lefties in the championship round. Don Johnson made it up to bowl the title match against Johnny Petraglia. I think that the right-handers, with the amount of practice they've had on the championship pair, are really going to give the lefties a tussle for the 40,000 today.
What can we expect?
I say a tie match. The players are all in super shape, 16 weeks. They've all been working out. We almost had one last week, and the Firestone's due for something climatic, and I think we might have a tie match somewhere along the way today.
300?
Well, we had a 319.67. I think that a little tougher, but I look for very competitive matches and very close matches, partner.
Look forward to your commentary,
All
Bo.
right, Chris.
Okay, so stay with us here. The Firestone Tournament of Champions, the first match, Big Steve Cook going against many-time champion Mike Durbin. That's next. Standing room only crowd watching with you as Mike Durbin will take a seat. Big Steve Cook at 6 feet 7 inches, 260 pounds. The 1981 champion will shoot first. One of the 3 left-handers. A man with deep concentration. Led 3 rounds here, got a little tired, lost the lead. Here's his first shot. Bouncing off the walls here at Riviera Lanes. Championship pair, lanes 27 and 28. Now here's a 2-time champion. Over a 10-year span, won it twice. 42-year-old Mike Durbin, Bo.
Mike Durbin, the premier stylist on the Professional Bowlers Tour, has won titles with 3-step, 4-step, and 5-step delivery. He's using the 4-step delivery today.
Here at the Firestone Tournament of Champions, we take a look at a profile view of this stylist.
If you wanted to teach somebody the textbook style, the perfect style to bowl, I believe you can find it in Mike Durbin. Look at everything in perfect position, shoulder high swing, deep knee bend. Look at that foot open up to the left. perpendicular to the foul line, excellent follow through, and of course the perfect result.
And a wobbly four, and Debbie, his wife, agonizes with him.
Durbin, you can see the trajectory and the type of shot he's playing here on the left-hand lane. 27 here at the Firestone. He lofts the ball well out on the lane and leaves the 4-pin as he quickly is set to convert this easy spare.
Man with a four-step approach. 17 years, a member of the PBA, the current president. 12 titles. And now the largest man in the field, Steve Cook, 27. 7 years, 7 titles. Third appearance on our telecast this year. Crossing over, and fortunate for him, he left the 4-7. Profile view of the lefty.
The big man, 5-step delivery. Watch how he cups his wrist at the top of the swing, the high back swing, then the good deep knee bend. 6 foot 7 inches tall. He gets down, good follow through. Unfortunately, the ball hit high. Needs to convert the 4-7 to stay even with Durbin. Watch the extra speed that Cook uses to cut his hook down and avoid the chop.
And the hook.
Unbelievable, Chris.
Oh, sad.
You know, yesterday you alluded to the big lead he had. Now watch Steve Cook here across lane. He's using the 4th arrow, but he just doesn't give it enough room, and the ball never has a chance even to hit the 4-pin. At one point in this tournament, he had a 500-pin lead on Mike Aulby, and Aulby caught him, partially because Aulby bowled so well, but Cook's timing has been off for a day and a half.
And if you don't make spares in the Firestone, you won't win it. Can he recover? 3rd frame. Coming up high and leaving the 2-4 on the left lane, and now he begins to talk to himself, and that's not good, but he'll get his composure.
Cook's trying to play right around the 2nd arrow, and he pulls the ball just inside that target line. See the ball hit about the 11th board, and actually went high. Has the same dilemma he had in the previous frame. The 2-4 is very similar to the 4-7. Have to use extra speed to avoid the chop.
Our alternate here in the Tournament of Champions, Ernie Schlegel. One more time, like a videotape replay, and let's do it once more, and Candy is beside herself.
Unbelievable, Chris. I've never seen a player of this caliber whiff 2 consecutive spares as he gives Durbin a 14-pin lead. He just completely missed both pins and both shots. If anything was to loosen Durbin up and get him ready for this match, it's right here.
And that's what Mike does, where he sets himself beautifully. And I did notice one thing. Steve started today pushing off much more quickly than he normally does. It's, well, disbelief on that face. Pictured better than 1,000 words. Worse than a toothache, Bo.
It's going to be an ache in his pocket, Chris, if he doesn't get going here. But I really has loosened up Durbin. Durbin, who is such an aggressive player at all times, but much more so here in the Firestone, could open a 36-pin lead with a double.
Ooh, the competitor wanted that 10-pin, but didn't get it. Yeah, he wants to become the first man to win the Firestone 3 times. Mike Durbin of Chagrin Falls, Ohio.
Mike using the same ball to convert the spare as he uses for a strike. Oftentimes Mike will change balls, but he's had a little trouble missing the 10-pin by changing balls. He says he has a different feel in another ball, so he just kills the shot, goes across lane. Should be an easy spare.
He's a little worried at the line. Mike Durbin, who was 4th last year, trying to win his 3rd this year. We're going to take a break in the Tournament of Champions here at Riviera Lanes in Fairlawn, but we'll be back. Gentleman in the light-colored shirt, Steve Cook, who had back-to-back open frames, came up with what he needed, a strike in the 4th and a strike in the 5th. So he is a double up right now. His opponent, Mike Durbin, in this first game of the Tournament of Champions, spare working, shooting in the 5th, 16-pin lead. stroke, but left the 10-pin.
Durbin, possibly the most accurate player on the professional bowlers tour. As you see his ball roll in at the low angle, does not quite carry the 10-pin out. That's what we call the soft 10. You see the 6-pin lay down in the channel and not quite knock the 10-pin out. Durbin with a conversion here would continue to lead Cook through 5 frames by 15.
Being very careful. Mike Durbin marking with another spare. He and Debbie have a wonderful family. Christine, 14-year-old honey.
You see Cook's game, strike, 2 opens, 2 strikes. He's the one player, Chris, I don't feel it really perturbs him to get open frames. He throws such a powerful strike ball that he can get away with open frames. I watched him bowl a game last night, 220. He never had a spare. He had 4-bagger, open frame, 4-bagger, open frame. And so he has the confidence he can come back and give Durbin a real tussle here in the match, and Durbin knows that.
And is concentrating. Didn't like the way the pins were set on the left lane. Asked for a re-rack. The man that sustained a stomach virus illness yesterday and last night, but didn't let it bother him, finishing 4th in this field of 52. And the man that was elected to the PBA Hall of Fame and inducted on Monday night along with Bud Fisher.
Durbin playing right around the first arrow as you see his ball go right between the first, right over the first arrow. And solid in the pocket. He couldn't have walked down there and placed the ball more neatly in the pocket.
Now Steve Cook with a double up. Could cut it to 5 with a strike here after 2 unbelievable open frames, trying to come back. High 4-7.
Steve Cook is playing an extreme outside line all week long, and really, as you see his ball not quite that far outside, cuts right through the heart. He leaves the 4-7, the same spare he whiffed on this lane completely in the 2nd frame. Let's see what he does here. But Chris, he was playing an extreme outside line all week long, and he opted for the first arrow, or between the 1st and 2nd arrow line today, just to avoid the disastrous open frames, but he's still having a lot of problem with the spares.
That time he made sure with accuracy and a lot of speed. Beautiful candy, Cook.
Cook has had a slight problem all winter long with his thumb holes, Chris. He broke his hand in a batting cage last spring, and thumb, when it healed, the bone didn't heal just right, and he had Larry Lichstein, the player services representative, throw him a special ball, and it has a 1/2 inch, what we call reverse, away from the center, and almost a 1 inch left to accommodate the kind of disfigured thumb of Steve Cook. So it's very important to get out of the ball clean.
Steve Cook. Shaky start. Coming through when it counts now. We'll have more of our very first match following this. Today from Fort Worth. World Welterweight Championship fight in the Wood Memorial. Another prep for the Derby. George Pappas from Charlotte, North Carolina, who has won this event in the past, will meet the winner of our first game that you're watching now. First game between Mike Durbin, who finished 4th, and Steve Cook, finishing 5th after 48 grueling games. Durbin in the lead by 17, can increase it. He has a strike up shooting in the 7th frame. All but the 7, and that took something out of Mike Durbin, at least for that moment. Hopefully he'll shake it off.
Durbin, the last 5 balls in the pocket, no doubles. Strike in the 3rd, had a good hit in the 4th and 5th, strike in the 6th, and here leaves the swishing 7 in the 7th frame. It's going to be a close match, Chris. They'll all be close today.
Mike Durbin, who's been in 7 Firestone Tournament of Champions finals, 10 games, 5 and 5, won and lost, and 2 titles. Debbie, his wife, talking to the children.
Durbin knows the championship pair probably better than anybody in the world. He has bowled so many crucial matches on this pair, plus he practices here often, and he used to live in this area, still does live in this area of Cuyahoga Falls. and he tells me the left-hand lane, the lane he's up on now, is 2 boards tighter than the right-hand lane, and that's the way they normally are every day of the week.
Mike Durbin, who has many fans in the area, comes through with that strike in the 8th frame. And he's leading by 17. Now, a big shot for Steve Cook after you see this replay.
Durbin, no trouble on the left-hand lane. All 10 in the pit.
Strike up in the 7th, shooting in the 8th. Can cut it to 7 pins. Just that, the man that in 1981 won from the top seed position. The following year, he again was top seeded, losing to Mike Durbin 233 to 203 in the championship game. So here he is against Durbin one more time.
So much discipline, so much power in Cook's game, Chris. After those first 3 frames, anybody would almost throw in a towel. Their timing was so far off. Yet now here in the crucial 9th frame, Cook is within 1 strike of taking the lead. And here's the angle that Nelson Burton and Chris Schenkel get to see the action every week as we watch Steve Cook, 9th frame, to take the lead.
And we don't have to pay to get that seat, Bo. We're pretty lucky, aren't we?
You're betted.
9th, big shot. Pressing over, and the speed and power on that bowling ball. There's the Candy Cook smile.
Chris, last year Joe Berardi had almost all the breaks he needed and was the only player ever to come from the first match to win the Firestone title. Steve Cook has gotten all the good breaks when he hits the pocket so far today, and he's got Durbin down by 3 pins. See how Durbin reacts to the good breaks that Cook has had and the unfortunate breaks that Mike Durbin has had. Durbin to retake the lead with a strike. He trails by 3 pins, 9th frame.
He wanted that one so badly, he nearly lost his balance and fell over the foul line. He really followed through, Bo.
A determined Mike Durbin has only had 1 errant shot. That was in the 2nd frame. He's put 7 good shots together. He has the lead by 7 pins as he turns to Harry Gold and asks for a 2nd re-rack in the match, Chris. And just a word of note, as Harry Golden goes out to look at the rack, Durbin has to describe what pin is off spot. And the PBA officials had manufacturers of these pin setters come in and set these racks before the match, but the players are so meticulous that their eyes, look at Durbin's eyes, he could see almost anything when you have a look like that.
Is he pleading his case? Without an attorney. He won. All right, we're going to look at it now. Mike says okay. Harry Golden, back after many weeks of recuperation from open heart surgery.
Durbin needs 2 more strikes to shut out Steve Cook. If he doesn't strike on this ball and the next, Cook can get up and win the match.
Two, 4, 5, 8. Oh, your goodness.
Durbin sends the ball wide. A surprised me and surprised Cook that Durbin would send the ball this wide. He needs to convert this spare to stay in the lead, Chris. A tough spare.
Picture book way to cover the 2, 4, 5, 8.
The situation for Mike Durbin is he needs 7, 8, 9, or a strike to force Steve Cook to throw 1 more strike and win. A 7 counts as good as a strike for Durbin in this situation.
Two-time champion Mike Durbin. And it's a 2-0 205.
Scoreboard tells the story. For Steve Cook, as he goes over and gets the official score from Harry Smith, is very simple. He needs a strike to win the match. If he doesn't strike, Durbin will go on and meet George Pappas.
And then the winner of our next game, as we're bringing you the Tournament of Championship live from Riviera Lanes, will be Joe Salvemini, and then it'll be Mike Aulby, the tournament leader.
Cook needs this strike to win. Durbin's a winner, Chris.
Mike Durbin, one step closer to winning his third Tournament of Champions. We'll have Cook's final score. Durbin a shot at 205 to win this first match. And now he will meet one-time winner George Pappas. With 6 strikes, Mike Durbin has defeated Steve Cook 205 to 188. Durbin next will meet George Pappas of Charlotte, winner of one Tournament of Champions. They're striving for that top prize of 40. In other words, in our final game here today, they'll be bowling for 62,000. Cook has won 7,000. The loser of this match about to start will get 10, but the winner will move a step closer to the big prize. Mike Durbin against George Pappas, and they have met before.
Could be the toughest match of the day, Chris. The two right-handers in the field of 5 today. Durbin and Pappas went at it last night in the position round, the 48th game. And Pappas came out the winner with a 246 game, but Durbin shot 236. Very competitive. Two of the toughest that ever bowled on the Pro Tour.
Middle pin the 5 for Mike Durbin, his 18th Tournament of Champions.
You'll see a blend in styles here. Durbin, the consummate accurate player, keeps everything in play with minimum power. And George Pappas, the all-around game. He keeps the ball in play, but he uses a little more power than Durbin, but he's not quite as accurate.
A little less speed on shooting that spare. Mike Durbin now. 37-year-old George Pappas, 5'9", 155 pounds, his 15th Tournament of Champions. He won in 1979. No. 4, 6, 7, 10.
The players call it big tonk, right through the heart. Look at this ball, just right dead on the 1, 2, 3. Pappas gets no good break at all. Leaves the 4, 6, 7, 10. He'll just go for 2 pins, Chris, and have to make an adjustment on this lane. Remember, Durbin knows this pair. He said this is the lane that hooks.
And he gets the 2. Accomplished the target. The man that won in 79 from the top spot over Dick Ritker.
What's going through Pappas's mind right now is, are both of the lanes hooking, or is it just that right-hand lane? Will he make an adjustment on the left-hand lane, thinking that they're both hooking? If he does, he'll hit light on this lane. If he stays in the same place as he did on the right-hand lane, he should be in the pocket.
All right. He needed that. After an open, big strike. And now Durbin, who marked with a spare in the first frame, and if you just joined us, won the first match over Steve Cook, 205 to 188.
Pappas playing around the second arrow, Durbin around the first arrow. Very fair condition. A player can play his ball. The lanes are conditioned equally from gutter to gutter or channel to channel. It's the player and how well he can control the shot under pressure.
Ago, you saw a graphic from our talented graphic people that he is one of 4 to have won 2 Tournament of Champions, the other 3 being Earl Anthony, Dave Davis, and Jim Godman. Earl, of course, retired from the Tour and the TFC. Durbin takes a 22-pin lead over Charlotte's George Pappas.
Similar to what happened last night, Durbin, in an early lead in the match, had Pappas down by as many as 20 pins through the 5th frame, but Pappas kept pecking away and came back. He needs to start getting some strikes, not to let Durbin get too far ahead in the match.
Average 231 on this championship pair. Shortest distance between 2 points into the pocket, Pappas.
As nice a blend of power and control as you'd ever want to see in the game of bowling. Watch George Pappas. Look at that left arm balancing the right side of the body, shoulder closed, arm swing locked, high follow through, and the perfect result is he got a strike all 10 in the pit, cut Durbin's lead down to 12 pins. He can make it just 2 if he strikes here in the 4th.
George with some unique mannerisms, little twitches of the right shoulder. He's got to get comfortable. Thought and was rooting for them all. There is Carroll.
Pappas, an excellent spare shooter, as is Durbin. Cross lane should never hardly miss the 10 pin and be a 100-to-1 shot they ever would. Chris, this is going to be a really good match. Pappas is zeroed in, and so is Durbin.
All right, with a big follow through, accuracy counting, covers the 10 pin in a close match. Only 13 pins separating Durbin and Pappas. We'll be back. Wide World next. And while we were away, running a little behind our 90-minute schedule in the 4th frame, Durbin with a strike, making it 3 in a row, increasing his lead over George Pappas to 23 pins. Now, he'll be shooting in the 5th. In the first game, 205 to Steve Cook's 188.
Durbin is really loosened up as Pappas is quickly on the approach and has to really get it going. He trails by 33 pins through 4 frames. Pappas has the ability to come back.
Spare working. Thin hit, leaving the 2-5.
And just joining us is Steve Cook, the man who was unfortunate enough to miss a couple of spares. Steve, what happened in the 2nd, 3rd frames of that first match?
My hand just started swelling up, and I was hanging onto the ball quite a bit. Lanes kind of got squirrely on me, and I was just trying to throw hard, and I think the harder I tried to throw it, the more I tried to hang up, so I don't know.
And there, Pappas chopping the 2 off the 5.
It could be a cakewalk for Durbin, and a point to make real quickly here, Steve, is that it looks like the left side of the lane has changed quite a bit today from what we've seen all week long. What do you find out there?
Well, the gutter seems like it's got kind of tough. We've been playing outside all week, and it just looks to me like it got kind of squirrely. I don't think that you'll see many of the lefties out there today. Probably be playing more around 10.
Thanks, Steve. And Chris, that'll make it tougher for the last 2 lefties.
Big strike for Pappas because we have Joe Salvemini of Reno up next, and then the tournament leader, Mike Aulby. Another Mike named Durbin with a 4-bagger. Shooting in the 6th frame, a 46-pin lead in his 2nd match of the afternoon. He's won way over $100,000 in the Tournament of Champions alone.
You see the line of Mike Durbin, about 6 revolutions, drives the pin straight back. Chris, 3 pound 7 ounce pins. The way Durbin's bowling, he could knock anything over they put up. The maximum is 310s. He'd have no problem knocking those over with that kind of trajectory and that kind of ball as he takes another re-rack. And one of the reasons we have so many re-racks is that simply these machines run so fast today that as you see A2 on the machine, to set the pins faster for the people, and makes it more difficult to keep them on spot.
You're allowed 3 a game. Of them. 6 in a row for Mike Durbin here at the Riviera Lanes in the suburb of Akron, Fair Lawn. We'll return with more after this. We're away, things not going well for George Pappas of Charlotte. In the 7th frame, for the 2nd time on the right lane, he left the 4-6-7-10. Left 1 pin, so now he's 112 through the 7th, trailing by 78. Shooting on the left lane. Meanwhile, his opponent, Mike Durbin, here in his 2nd match of the afternoon, has a 6-bagger up, shooting in the 8th. The winner of this match will go against a left-hander from Reno, Joe Salvemini, 28-year-old, 2-time winner.
Durbin has a chance to bowl the 3rd highest game ever rolled in the championship round in the Tournament of Champions. We remember Jack Biondello's 300 in 1967, Don Johnson 299 in the championship game in 1970, and here Durbin has a chance for a 290. He has an 88-pin lead. 9th frame.
Well, perhaps a little nonchalance, leaving the 6-10 on the left lane.
Durbin match well in hand, Chris. A little bit more about the tournament. This is a 48-game format instead of the regular 42-game tournament, as Durbin has a possible 268.
All right. Durbin is the winner over George Pappas, who has many fans at our Channel 9 WSOC in Charlotte. We'll be back soon. Time winner Mike Durbin has won 2 matches here in the 1984 version of the Tournament of Champions. So Mike Durbin is going to be bowling in our next match. But before that gets underway, the Real Age Tip of the Week with Nelson Burton Jr. A checklist, a mental process, what you should do before you bowl.
The Professional Bowler's Tip of the Week is brought to you by Rolaids.
It's the 10th frame, and you need a mark to win your team match. Your players are depending on you. You're sitting on the bench. You just need 1 mark to win the match. What do you think about? You're nervous. Today's bowling tip of the week will give you a mental checklist that'll help you through those pressure situations. 4 points. Number 1, make sure to push the ball away, fully extended on your first step, out on 1. Don't walk like this 2 or 3 steps before you push the ball away. Many people do that when they're nervous. Number 2, make sure that arm is close to your body all the way through the shot. You want maximum leverage for power. You don't want that ball out here. If I was going to ask you to pick up a dumbbell, you wouldn't put it out here. You'd put it right in next to your body for that power. Point number 2. Point number 3, probably one you've never heard before. Follow through with the inside of your elbow towards the target. Many people say the hand, but there's a fallacy to that. The hand can be towards the target, but the arm or elbow out here causing a weak shot. So remember, inside of the elbow of the target, and the final point is keep your eyes on that target from the time you take your first step here on the approach until the ball is at least 10 feet down the lane. Watch this shot, concentrating basically on the inside of my elbow of the target and my eyes on the target all the way. Once again, performing in the clutch, it worked out. A mental checklist, the one I use, works for me. Maybe you'll develop one that works even better for you. But whatever it is, always have a game plan in the pressure situations.
Mike Durbin shot a 255 with 7 strikes in his 2nd win today, eliminating George Pappas. Now his opponent is Joe Salvemini of Reno, Nevada. A big crowd looking on. Look at them. one of the facilities where we can get in a lot of people. One of the drawbacks to bowling, not much of a big gate because there's not room to put in the fans that really want to come to watch the finest professionals in the world go at it, and especially in this event. There you're looking at Joe Salvemini, the 28-year-old, whom earlier we asked that he had finished below 7th only once and why he feels he has such great match play record coming in.
Well, I think it's because there's, first of all, there's less players around me, less distractions, easier to concentrate. I have a little bit of a problem with concentration, but basically it's because once I know I'm bowling head-to-head with one player and it's just me against him, and I'm going to do the best on the shot that got me to the finals, so I think that's the reason that I do so well.
Okay.
And he's got a chance to prove that point against one of the great match play players of all time, Mike Durbin. And Durbin has won 2 matches, Chris, and he is ranked number 5 on the PBA Tour in average and number 5 in percentage of wins in match play. Durbin, a .576 record this year, 83 wins, 61 losses, one of the toughest of all times.
A consummate professional. In the pocket. Now we get a look at Joe Salvemini. He's 5'10", 160 pounds. And he has a lot of confidence. Good luck charm he carries in his right pocket is a book of matches. Most of them have superstitions, like all of us. Bending it into the pocket on the left side.
Salvemini, the left-hander, a nice, smooth style, 5-step delivery. Not much of a backswing. He's a very accurate player, not a power player. Stays low at the line. Good follow-through. Nice turn on the ball.
Won his first PBA title at Dick Weber's Lanes in Florissant, Missouri. The Rolaids Open.
To see that one again, Chris. What a great bait.
Yes,
unbelievable.
His wife, Pam, loved it.
And here we have it. Watch the head pin do all the work. It's going to the sideboard, and this head pin's going to come back and take the 3-pin out. Here we go. Watch the head pin. It'll go to the right sideboard. There it is, standing in the channel. Hits the 6. 6 rolls back into 3. What a great break for Salvemini early in the match. Let's see how it affects Durbin.
Our very perceptive coordinator between the PBA and ABC, Frank Esposito, thought that would have something to do with today's tournament, those sideboards.
There's the strategy of Durbin. He's going to play the track, which he's doing, and he'll play a little more hook or a little deeper line with his right-hand leg.
Not phased. The man who's won 2 matches, Mike Durbin, 205 over Steve Cook, 188. And then over Papis, 255 to 191. There's that sideboard, Nelson.
Chris, the fiberglass sideboards that are on both sides of the lane, that's where the pins hit when they get sideboard action, are fresh and new and lively here. And that's why Salvemini got that great sideboard action, that head pin driving into the 6 and coming back out and knocking the 3-pin over.
Bowling's version of the boxer's punching bag, right?
Well, without the sideboards, Chris, we did some experiments years back, and it cuts about 35 to 40 pins off your average, so the sideboards are important.
We have the World Welterweight Championship coming up on Wide World, along with the Wood Memorial. It follows our telecast from Tournament of Champions. He struck 3 here at the start. Let's take another look at that line that Mike is playing today.
Mike Durbin right around the first arrow, right in this zone here, and his ball is just right inside of it, and it's a little wide. Watch him just rip that 5-pin right over into the 7-pin area. Excellent strike. Durbin, if he can keep it light, will be very devastating today, as he has in his first 2 matches with a 230 average.
To stay even, he has to strike here. 3 frames for each professional. Each with 3 strikes.
As Pam Salvemini looks on, Joe Salvemini, a big-hearted player. Chris, I don't believe he has the overall talent of a Durbin, but when he has had a chance to win, he has been devastating. We saw him last night throw strikes in the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th to jump from 4th place all the way into 2nd, so he can do it in the clutch.
His only other appearance in the Firestone, he finished 49th. The 8th pin on the left lane.
Crosses over. He tried to make the adjustment for the light hit he had in the 2nd. Crossed over and almost got a great break, making it a 4-bagger, but he has a very easy spare for most people. Salvemini, though, has a bit of trouble, as did Cook with the left-hand spares.
All right. Make sure on that one from Reno, Nevada, Pam Salvemini. We'll be back with more of this, a pivotal match, Durbin and Salvemini. Bo, Donald Curry puts his welterweight championship on the line today.
And, Chris, you told me that Curry, you thought he would beat Diaz in the distance, and I'll tell you what, I have a tip for you in the horse race at the Wood Memorial. 1 mile and an eighth. I'll tell you what, watch Wedding Guest or Bear Hunt. $300,000 at stake.
Really? Okay. This is Mike Aulby, the tournament leader, one of the 3 left-handers who would just love to win the Tournament of Champions. On the right, there is the PBA Commissioner Joe Antonor and his lovely wife, Mary. Done a great job for the professional bowlers, including the president of the PBA from the players' standpoint, Mike Durbin, who's won 2 matches, has 3 in a row, shooting in the 4th frame of the semifinal game. Brought the first wry smile on the highly competitive Mike Durbin.
Mike Durbin, as you saw, wife Debbie there. They have their daughter Chrissy and son Matthew there, and his mother, Mike's other son, who goes to Ohio University in this area, is in Florida enjoying the spring vacation, so Mike could pick up a few bucks to pay for his son's vacation here.
And nearly found the channel. Eddie Elias smiling, Bob Bowen of Firestone, but continues to be clean here in his 3rd match. All even, and what a game.
Salvemini with a wry smile on his face, concentrating. The thing that Durbin also has to watch out for is a lapse in concentration. He had one against Papis last night. It cost him a couple of spots starting in today's championship round. He's recovered. He's in the semifinal match now, and he's in dead stroke.
Loser of this match gets $15,000. The winner has a shot at 40 in the next game. 5-7 on the left lane. Telestrator. What happened, Bo?
Chris, just not enough power for Durbin on that shot as his ball slid in, and here's what he has to do. Get the ball over on the right side of the 5-pin and slide it right over into the 7. I'd say the odds for a pro are 2-1, but for Durbin, even better than that. He is an excellent spare and split shooter.
Beautiful conversion, and one more time.
See him just hit the right side of the 5-pin. It nicks the back of the 7-pin. Durbin avoids the open frame and keeps Salvemini within 2 pins of him. See how Salvemini reacts to that split conversion. Sometimes that can perturb an opponent.
Spare working. I think it took a little off the speed for some reason.
Salvemini throws that big hook ball. When he hits in the pocket, as you see from this behind shot here, when a ball hits in the pocket, it's very effective, but when he doesn't give it enough speed or enough room, it cuts right through the heart and usually gets a split. He gets a fairly easy spare. The 2-4, he'll be all even if he converts.
Oh! Salvemini. Earlier today, Mike Durbin defeated Steve Cook 205 to 188. then eliminated George Pappas 255 to 191. And this is Pam Salvemini.
Match all even through 5. Both players going at a 2:17 pace. And there's quite an improvement from last year's event. Salvemini finished 3rd from the bottom. He's in a chance to win it all this year.
And again. This time the 247.
With that big hook and very little speed, Salvemini really has a problem with these left-hand spares. The 2-4 he barely converted here in the 5th frame. Now he has a little tougher spare, the 2, 4, and 7. He has to hit the 2-pin on the left side, let the ball drive into the 4 take out the 7.
Came up just in time to continue his marking, and continuing to practice is the tournament leader, left-hander Mike Aulby from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Mike Durbin, who drives a motorhome on the tour and also enjoys his motorcycle driving in the summertime, blows in that thumb hole. He always does that when the thumb is just a bit loose. It's really a good tip. If you feel like your thumb's a little loose and you don't need a piece of tape, just blow in the thumb. That'll make it feel, as he says, just a half a piece tighter.
Durbin, 42 years old.
Durbin with the style that we saw the great Don Carter and Dick Weber use in the 50s and 60s, that down and in accurate style, is just keeping the ball in play. He will not beat himself. Durbin just is so meticulous and so well practiced and so experienced, going against kind of a wild stallion there in Joe Salvemini. The match is still up for grabs. Durbin by 3 pins.
Strike working. 7th frame. Leaving a 10-pin.
Durbin just can't believe it, as you see Eddie Elias on the left and Bob Bowen, the Firestone executive who will make our presentation, on the right. The founder of the PBA, there he is. One of the brilliant, nice guys in all of television. Eddie Elias, as Durbin goes for the 10-pin.
This time he was a little more careful. Last time, nearly found the channel. So, Mike Durbin and Salvemini will continue in this semifinal match following this message. Joe Salvemini, for the first time today, is trailing by 3 pins, getting late in this semifinal match. Bowling Mike Durbin, now be shooting in the 7th with a spare working. Started with 3 strikes, then 3 spares. Just stayed out there and never came back. 1, 3, 6, 10.
Salvemini with some tough spares. One in the 5th frame, he left the 2-4, then the 2-4-7 in the 6th, and here in the 7th frame, he sent it wide and never finished, never came back to the pocket. He leaves the 1-3-6-10. Once again, a difficult spare for anyone, but for Joe Salvemini, who really struggles with his spare, it's even more difficult, and he needs this to keep Durbin in sight.
Missing the 1. Joe, who had high games in the Tournament of Champions of 289, 288, 279, struggling here in the semifinal match.
One thing about Salvemini, though, Chris, he's always dangerous. He can throw some strikes. Last night I saw him have 75 in the 5th in a critical game. The 47th game, finished with 7 in a row to win that match. He finished with 4 in a row to get up in 2nd place, but he has to get his act together right here in the 8th frame against the tough Durbin.
Again, not coming up. 1, 3, 6, 9.
Not to be had. Watch him send it wide. Almost the identical reaction that we saw in the 8th frame when he left the 1-3-6-10. This time he leaves the 1-3-6-9. The same dilemma. He has to hit the 1-3 on the right side and let the ball carry out the 6 and the 9.
All right. Worried look on both of the Salvemini's faces. Mike Durbin is up in the 8th now with a spare working. Mike, when he's not on our telecast, this is his 4th time this year, is our scorekeeper. But today, and he too is often with us, Larry Laub, who finished 30th.
And right below Laub, the great Dick Weber. Both players picking up $1,600. Not a bad week's paycheck for 30th place.
And if you wondered where the record setter, my colleague Bo, finished, 25th. Missed that cut by how many pins, Bo?
7 pins.
Son of a gun.
Not enough. With all the great players out here, you can't afford to have any bad breaks. And here Mike Durbin with really an opportunity to close the door on Salvemini. Durbin going at a 2:17 pace. The best Salvemini can get is 2:19. Durbin could really put the key in the lock and open that door of the championship match with a strike here.
Big night. Just tightening the screws, making it a little more difficult for your opponent. Spare working in the 9th now, Joe Salvemini.
Salvemini in a must situation. Has to start striking right here in the 9th frame for any chance to beat the red-hot Durbin.
Very businesslike. Pam's husband.
The situation that faces Salvemini is very simple. He must strike in the 10th and 11th frames and be in the 2 teens to force Mike Durbin to mark. If Salvemini does not strike on this ball, it will be Durbin and Aulby in the championship match for $40,000.
So Durbin has won 3. Count them, 3, and that is a tough position to come from.
Salvemini, the best he can do is 199 if he converts this split. Durbin doesn't even have to show up if Salvemini doesn't.
All right, little spare shooting exercise there, Salvemini. Pin and for Salvemini, 198.
The situation for Durbin is he simply needs 1 pin and he will win the match.
That was his easiest task of the day. And he did it, getting all 10. Durbin has won 3, now goes into the final against Mike Aulby. We'll be back after this. Visually, there's the story of the first 3 matches. Durbin winning all 3 with 8 strikes, 244 to Joe Salvemini's 198. Now the championship match for the bull for $62,000. Aulby and Durbin. Huge crowd watching along with you in the 20th Tournament of Champions. Wide World will follow next, which includes live coverage of the Wood Memorial and also live coverage of a World Welterweight Championship bout in the Texas city of Fort Worth. We're going to take a short pause and go to Fort Worth and Al Michaels. Well, we're back here in Fairlawn, Ohio, suburb of Akron. We're ready now for the championship match for the 20th time. Final game of the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Shooting first will be the man who has won 2. 5 players have done that in the past. So he'd like to become the first to win 3, but he has to go against the tournament leader, left-hander Mike Aulby. Shot number 1. Leaving a 10 pin on the left lane.
The strategy for the final match, Chris, the track side of the right-hand lane where all the players play is difficult to cross lanes and figure them out. But when you sit on a pair like Durbin is right now, you can make the track work to your advantage. Also, Joe Salvemini just came by. He says if he's going to give Aulby any advice, play outside on the left and inside on the right. Let's see what happens.
Mike goes cross lane, gets the 10 pin. So we'll keep a close eye on Mike, who's had to work very hard under this intense pressure after sustaining a stomach virus yesterday. See if he can keep up his strength and concentration. And Mike Aulby, right off, the youngest player in the field, 24 years old, gets a re-rack. Here he goes, takes a little time. All right, profile view of that stroke, Nelson.
Chris, one of the aggressive young lions on the tour, left-hander Mike Aulby, has been around a few years, even though he's only 24 years old, has won a lot of money, and here's the reason why. He's not only aggressive, but he has a great style and a great bowling ball, and he can read the lanes. He played that inside shot that Salvemini was talking about here on the right. Let's see what he does on the left. Maybe he can really put some pressure on Durbin early in the match. He could take a 10-pin lead, the tournament leader.
The PBA national champion, Mike Aulby, leaves the 7-pin. And Tammy Aulby.
Tammy Aulby, the sister of Candy Cook. The Canepa girls, married to Mike Aulby and Steve Cook.
Mike's last title came in 1981, Canadian Open.
Last time Mike was the tournament leader was in the Grand Prix in Paris, and he missed 2 7-pins in a championship match. Let's see what happens.
Worried after that release. Mike Aulby of Indianapolis.
Durbin, through 3 games, only has missed the pocket, the 1-3 zone, 4 times. Discipline, control, one of the great talents to ever step on the bowling lane, right here going for his 3rd Firestone.
An 18-year difference in age between these 2 finalists. Durbin has won 3 matches today. Winner here will get $40,000. The runner-up, $22,000. Been a big week for Mike, being inducted into the PBA Hall of Fame on Monday night, along with Glenn Allison and Bud Fisher. Important double for Durbin.
You can see Durbin's line. He's still playing right around that first arrow as he makes a stroke. It comes right on in, right over that first arrow, and then solid in the pocket. Aulby to put some pressure on Durbin.
Left the 2-pin on the right lane.
Chris, the left-handers have really struggled today, and it's fairly obvious that they cannot play the same line that they've played all week. I watched the left-handers play a line that sent the ball out right near the channel. You see Aulby's nowhere near that, and they said that the shot is just too slick out there. The ball won't come back, and so they're forced to play around the second arrow, and it's giving them some trouble. And you can see how slick it was. He sent it wide. Now, that was the same type of shot he was playing for a strike, and the ball just did not come back. Now, here you go from a low angle. Now, here was the strike shot now earlier in the week, and yet it can't even get up to make the 2-pin. Aulby once again misses a spare. He couldn't figure the ball would not hook that much. It's hooked plenty all week long. He's in real trouble.
All of a sudden, you trail by 22. This is where you have to come back. And what happens?
And it's not getting any better as he has a shot here where Aulby has to go for this, and the angle of attack he must use is a cross lane, get that ball over in this area, hit the 6-pin and drive it over into the 8. It's a must shot early in the match for Aulby. If he converts, he will only trail by 22. If he misses, it'll be more than 32 pins.
No luck on that strike for Mike Aulby of Indianapolis. 32 pins. That's the difference between Durbin and Aulby. See more of this championship match after this. Durbin hoping to cover the 610 in the 4th frame. Gets him. Mike Durbin averaging 234 in 3 victories in the Firestone Tournament of Champions. It's in the final game with 40 to the winner, 22,000 to the runner-up.
Mike in a situation where he just can't have any mental lapse. He has to just kind of take his time. He has a great lead with 6 frames to go. His 3rd Firestone somewhat in the bag, although Aulby should have something to say about that in the last 6 frames. But keep his composure. Keep the ball in play.
In the field of 5, most consistent, Mike Durbin. Mike Aulby now, after an open frame, shooting in the 5th. Back-to-back opens.
The ball just will not come back. You see Aulby send it a little wide to adjust for a high hit, and it slides by and it leaves a 3-5 spare. Now here this ball, you can see it trying to bite. Aulby's rooting for it. Just barely nicks the head pin. He has the 3-5, has to watch out for the chop, Chris.
Oh, what do you do? Change balls? What do you know, it's frustrating, isn't it?
Has to take a gamble. $40,000, has to just go, as we say, a rocket to the pocket. 3 in a row, 3 opens in a row. We call that a buzzard on the tour. As Tammy shakes her head, she knows that Mike Aulby is in trouble. Mike Durbin in the driver's seat. 42-pin lead. We never expected a cakewalk, and it looks like it could be that way.
Mike Aulby, who was 7th in 82, 18th in 80, 22nd in 1981, the PBA Rookie of the Year, PBA National Champion once, 4 titles. Sure, he's saying, finally.
Durbin trying to be only the 2nd player in Firestone history to go from the first match to the title, and it happened last year as Joe Berardi defeated 4 opponents. Durbin well on his way to defeating 4 opponents, but he can't let up. With a strike here in the 6th, he would take a very commanding 52-pin lead with just 4 frames left.
We've had powerful help this year. Production and engineering, like our producers Joel Feld and Bob Rosberg Jr., directors John DeLisa, Norm Samet, and Lou Bocelli. Technical director Bob Bernthal, our associate directors Bo, Kim Belton and Dennis Mazzacco, technical manager Dick Mulliner, unit manager Murray Schwartz, assistants to the producer, and what great work they do, Liza Kuhn and Rob Stewart, and our stage manager Valerie Purcell. Just a few that really make this all possible. 16 straight weeks.
Great crew. And Durbin taking a little extra time. He knows he has the 40,000, his 3rd Firestone. If he just doesn't beat himself, and when you're taking that time, it'll be difficult for Aulby to catch you.
Durbin, like the hunter, the stalker, sensing $40,000 for the 3rd time. You know, this is the 20th year, and the first winner in 1965, Billy Hardwick, is here watching. He won 25. So Firestone has been a catalyst to bigger purses, better tournaments over the last 20 years.
Aulby in a must situation. He has to strike on this ball.
There's a 10.
Disconsolate look. Aulby thought he had a good shot. In fact, he did, but it wasn't quite good enough as the head pin would not take out the 10-pin Aulby. The best he can do is 196. Durbin already going at a 2:28 pace.
And Mike from Indianapolis, big sports fan, hopes that the recently moved Colts will do a lot better in that Hoosier capital.
Mike Aulby, if he could win, and it seems almost impossible right now, would be only the 4th top seed to win in 16 weeks. There's only been 3 top seeds to win so far this year. Mark Roth at the U.S. Open, George Pappas at the Showboat, and Hugh Miller at the Quaker State.
Well, Bo, your record-breaking win in St. Louis, you had to win 4 games. Where would you rather be? Would you rather be at the top spot in this event, the Firestone?
In the top spot, well, Chris, it's difficult to say. Unfortunately for Aulby and some of the other top seeds this year, they have lost. I think one of the reasons being is there's so much talent on the PBA Tour, and they're so experienced, and they're so well practiced. We used to see years back, and not being derogatory to my generation that came up, we weren't as well practiced or disciplined, and fellows like Durbin have learned that over the years, and all the young players have. Plus one other element, the urethane bowling ball that Durbin is using, I think has put a new weapon in the players' hands, and they're much more consistent with it, and it rolls very true, and I think that's one of the reasons you see so many players coming from the bottom to the top.
And this man, a very athletic competitor. He deserves a lot of credit, having overcome illness yesterday. Undoubtedly weakened him, because we noticed him having breakfast with him. Boy, he had very little because of that unsettled stomach. But the adrenaline grows when the champions are on the line.
It should be settled now, because he's got $40,000, 90% in his pocket. It's all over, Chris.
Yes. Debbie senses it more. Mike won't show any emotion until everything is completed, but for the 3rd time and for the first time, a 3-time winner of the Firestone Tournament of Champions, Mike Durbin. They are continuing to bowl to complete this final championship match here. Mike Durbin has already decided the outcome with his 3rd Firestone victory. Seeking victory today is welterweight champion Donald Curry in Fort Worth, which will be seen next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, and the Wood Memorial as well. That will come up next. So we say congratulations for the 3rd time on this spot, Mike Durbin, to you.
Well, just thanks to Firestone, Riviera Lanes. What more can I say? Thanks, Chris.
Well, Bob Bowen is here, president of the Firestone Sales and Service Group.
Mike, it's a real pleasure on behalf of all of the men and women at Firestone to give you $40,000. You really earned it.
Thank you very much. We'll just pass it right over.
Okay.
Smart man.
Thank you, Chris.
We've got to go now, but to Dad, Bill, and Debbie and Matthew and Christine, I know they share your happiness as we do for you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Once again, the winner of the Firestone Tournament of Champions is Mike Durbin. The Professional Bowlers Tour has been brought to you by Sears, where you'll find great values, great service, and a great selection. You'll find the things that make life worthwhile, because there's more for your life at Sears. Coming up next, ABC's Wide World of Sports, featuring the WBA World Welterweight Championship, Donald Curry versus Helio Diaz, live from Fort Worth, Texas, and the Wood Memorial Horse Race, live from Queens, New York. Travel arrangements made through a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies to Tokyo for more top business centers with 3-class Royal Pacific service. The final score, 246 to 163, and this has been an ABC Sports presentation.
Given a new name.
Cujo.
A name you won't forget. Cujo. And coming in October, the critically acclaimed The Big Chill. They're the